It's quite clear that this country faces very serious financial problems, perhaps the most serious in my lifetime. We know that serious and thoughtful leadership can help move this country past these problems and address these problems, but they indeed are very serious. Here is a description of the jobs that have been lost since the first of this year. Nearly 2 million private sector jobs lost in this year. You know, this is kind of sanitary. It doesn't mean so much just in terms of a number, but every one of those nearly 2 million people had to go home this year to tell a loved one they lost their job, that they don't have a job any longer. And a job is what makes much of the other things in our lives that are good possible. So nearly 2 million people have lost their jobs. Most Americans that have some sort of a retirement savings account, a 401k, an IRA, most of them, if they have looked, some have not, have discovered that 30 to 40% of it is now gone, washed away by a serious financial crisis. Millions of people have lost their homes, and millions more will unless something is done. It's one thing to lose a job, it's quite another thing to lose a home, and lose a job and a home is a devastating blow to the American family. This is more than just some sort of normal contraction of the business cycle. When we teach economics, I've taught some economics in college, when you teach economics, you teach about the business cycle, and the business cycle is almost inevitable. There's a contraction phase and an expansion phase of the business cycle. This is not about the business cycle. This is not a recession that's a result of a contraction phase of the business cycle. This is something very different. This is a financial collapse, a financial crisis. This is man-made. This is not some force of nature that is visited upon a population. This is a result of reckless business practices by some of the largest financial firms in this country. And unfortunately, instead of dealing with the cause, there is so much effort now to throw money at the biggest firms in the country that help steer this country's economy into the ditch. I'm not suggesting that there is not a requirement to make significant, perhaps much more than significant, investments in portions of the economy to try to provide some buoyancy and some lift to try to steer this country out of the recession. But there is an old country saying that the water won't clear up until you get the hogs out of the creek. What I see day after day is the movement of money to the very interests that steered this country into the ditch and caused the wreck in the first place.